I'm going to read from a book called From the Holy Mountain. There it is, the valley of doom, the valley of dreadful judgment. Below us, the monastic buildings of Marsaba fell away in a ripple of chapels, cells, and oratories.
Is William creating a connect more in India, or is he managing to create as much as a connect across the UK as well?
Well, I think one of the challenges we have, and one of the reasons why we sort of launched this project, Reimagine, is that I think there's a greater understanding between sort of young people in India of the UK than there is of young people in the UK of contemporary India. Mm-hmm. What William's work has done is certainly raise the profile of India in the UK through his writing, and also, you know, his thought pieces, which his own writing goes back into the UK. Mm-hmm. So I would say, you know, yes, I mean, I think India knows the UK probably better than the UK, or in terms of the young people, mm-hmm. Better than the UK knows India. But William's work is helping to educate and enlighten young people in the UK of what contemporary India is about.
I often find an assumption here in India that Britain is more finished, more screwed economically, more second-rate, and more racist than, in my experience, it is. Okay. The country I grew up in, I think of as a very multicultural society.
His role as the co-director of one of Asia's best-known literature festivals, the Jaipur Lit Fest or the JLF, has invited writers from across the world, of course, including the UK and those belonging to the Indian diaspora.
You know, where Jaipur Literature Festivals come from, a small festival with a few writers and, you know, sort of a relatively modest audience to a festival now which is the largest literature festival and ideas festival in South Asia, bringing the greatest minds who are writing, thinking today to this festival. I mean, what's wonderful about it is that it's a free festival, mm-hmm. And it attracts so many young people. William has brought together artists, musicians from around the world, but there is very much a strong UK element to every edition of the Jaipur Literature Festival.
Literature festivals is that everyone's a winner. Mm-hmm. The writers get to promote their work, the festival organisers get to organise a festival that is not hugely expensive because writers don't charge huge fees like rock stars, and publishers get to promote their authors' work without having to pay for them. Yeah. Plus, it seems sponsors are quite willing to come forward and foot the bill for all this. So it's a wonderful thing, and I think, you know, in a sense, there's such a glut of literary festivals at the moment, mm-hmm. That people have ceased to appreciate it. But I think 100 years' time, people will look back and think, this was this great renaissance, this was this great thing. People would go to literature festivals every weekend, every month. Literarists and writers were speaking to 5,000 people, and we kind of assume this is because it's now so ordinary. We don't remark it, but this seems to be very much in the same tradition as the Mushairas of the Mughals or the great Sangam poets reciting to... And
it's the success of the JLF that triggered this, essentially.
It was totally the success of the JLF. So JLF grew out of an existing festival. There's a remarkable couple called Faith and John Singh who founded Anoki in Jaipur. Faith is English, John is Rajput royalty with a kind of otherworldly spin. And they founded a festival because when they retired from Anoki, John in particular was fascinated by the music of the desert and realised that in all these tiny village fairs that you had out in the wilds and back end of Bikaner, you were getting throat singers who sounded like Mongols, people playing double flutes like ancient Greece. There were all these incredible forms of music that had survived, died out elsewhere, but somehow survived in Rajasthan, which was never colonised. Mm-hmm. And the forms of patronage never dried up completely despite the end of the course. So he made Jaipur a kind of platform for bringing in the real stars of the desert world. And his main interest was musical. I was the first writer they invited and asked to come along and give a reading. I did in 2004, just after I'd moved back here with my kids. And I suggested to Faith immediately that she should, well, initially I think I suggested that she had more writers.
The reason why you decided to take it to South Bank, London as well?
I would say the drive to internationalise has very much been Soundjoy. I am very proud of what we've done, and I love that it's spreading, but I don't actually have the time. I'm not a full-time festival organiser, I'm a writer. And Jaipur already has grown from being something that used to take about a couple of weeks to being something that definitely takes about 3 months now in my year.
Yeah.
And I don't have any more time. So I've totally supported Namatar and Sanjoy in their decision to do this and applaud it. But to be honest, Namatar is actually the director of South Bank, and next week the great new Jaipur goes to Boulder, Colorado. So from the Ara valleys to the Rockies.
And there's yet another aspect to William's work, that being music. Well, no, not composing music as of yet, but at least being a deciding voice in who are the musicians to perform at the JLF. Music that you followed and the kind of music that you also promote and have Jaipur Literature Festival as a platform as well for this genre of music, and a lot of that again is connecting the two worlds in the future.
But it is, yeah, I haven't really thought of it as being the same, but now you pointed out it probably is. I love music, I write to music, it's probably my favourite hobby, if you can call it that. I'm not personally musical, I was rubbish at the piano. I tried at various points, the trumpet, the horn. I was never any good at it. And I'm still more or less musically illiterate, but I love listening to it.
There's always an on-stage fusion that we see from the outside.
Yes, I hadn't particularly thought that through until you mentioned it. But yes, you're right, I suppose it is a horrible word, East-West fusion. But But can you say it's an East-West fusion? I mean, Nitin Sawhney, born and brought up in England, would regard himself as British.
But using a lot of Indian notes.
Using a lot of Indian
and then you have your ball singer Paban Das.
Paban Das,
you have
Sushila.
Yeah. So they're all doing that mix of what you've been doing in your writing
yes,
as
I
well.
suppose.
How do you switch off as a writer? Because that's your primary profession, so to say, or your primary work, but you've expanded in so many other areas, but you still need to switch off or unwind.
Well, I'm very lucky in that I managed to make all my hobbies my means of generating income. Writing is not a hobby, I have to say. Writing, when actually sitting down writing a book, it's rather like doing an exam. It's not a pleasant thing. I love the research. I love the business, following on the detective trail of a story and finding the papers and unearthing the new materials that no one's found before. That's all terrific. But the actual business, sitting down at this table, which is where it all happens, and writing a 400-page book is as much fun as taking finals or going to the dentist or having a tooth extracted. It's no fun at all.
Leisurely about it.
There's nothing leisurely about it. It's bloody hard work. And I mean, so much of a writer's life is a DOS and a doddle and an ego trip. That there has to be some catch, and the catch is actually writing the book, which is a hellish process. And I do it only once every 4 years. It's like in a college. You have year 1 messing around, year 2 slightly kind of beginning to kind of attend a few lectures, year 3 blind panic because finals is coming up, and then year 4 you just don't come out of the library and you're sitting there swatting.
And that's when you need to really switch off as well.
And that I don't switch off. I switch on, but I switch off my social life. I lock myself down. And this farm is totally self-sufficient. I have everything I need here. I get up at 5:30 and I work. I have a printout of my previous day's work by my bed. I'd read it and corrected it by about 9. It's in the computer by about 9:30. I go for a run, swim if it's in summer, and I'm writing new material by about 10:30.
What's your life like during the months that you spend away from India, back home, back perhaps at your native place?
But it's very odd because the two worlds are so different and so self-contained. And when I'm here, I can't ever really imagine what London life is and how I would want to live there.
But when you're
One
there,
time there, it's actually catching up with all my friends, whizzing around, having a lovely time. But I'm here for 10 months here. I'm there 2 months. So I'm actually more now 9 and 3. Actually, now the kids are mainly there. But this is home. This is the base. This is where work takes place. That's sort of summer holidays.
family, children, the kind of the world that they've seen through your travel and writing and through the connect that you've managed to make through between the two countries, their outlook, their perspective?
Different between the three of them, actually. Ibi, my eldest, who is my only daughter, had a whole life which she had to leave behind when she came here in 2004. And in a sense has always had more weight in London than her brothers. Her brothers had most of their childhood here, and most of their friends were here. And the youngest one really had no memory of childhood at all in England or Scotland. Scotland and England were holidays. While I love this country, I haven't taken Indian citizenship, as some people have done, Francis Vaxiarg and people like that. I haven't done that. And unlike my white moguls, I am married to a Scot. Olivia is very much from the same background as me, but has made a similar journey, and her painting is now, well, I'm rather looking forward to retiring on that sunbed on her painting, if we can keep it. She's had an amazing year.
And on a much lighter note, for someone who's really grown up in rural Scotland, William connects with his inner farmer by living in this sprawling farmhouse in Delhi, spending the day planting vegetables and running after his livestock. So I notice you have a self-sustained ecosystem here, so to say.
We're self-sufficient for about 6 months a year. Yeah,
wow.
Totally.
So what all have you got?
There's a huge vegetable garden which is just being planted now.
Okay.
This is September. By end October, we'll be eating from the garden.
Seasonal vegetables all.
This chap, the big chap, Gilbert, has got sort of sporran on his bottom. And his mother, who's George, Gilbert and George. Within 6 months, Gilbert was tapping his mother, and the result is all this. We have introduced, I was worried about inbreeding, so I bought a black one too, and so we're getting a slight change of bloodline. But it's lovely. I mean, this is what's not to love, and a lot of the time I never leave the farm.
And how much are you yourself hands-on involved with your farm?
Well, I obviously don't dig the earth and add the fertilizer, but I choose all the vegetables, and this is all my planning and initiative. But we've got 2 amazing malis. Oranges, which produce jam and make little sweets out of. I say labneh from the goats. All veggies for 6 months. I'm not a vegetarian by religion or practice, but I'm a mean Scot at heart, and I hate the idea of the vegetables going to waste. So for particularly the main winter months, we hardly eat meat, just because it's there groaning
in abundance.
But
I noticed that this is something you genuinely enjoy as well, not because you have the blessing.
I've always been a
of
gardener, and I'm a country boy. I mean, I grew up in the country in Scotland, and I'm also very sociable, and it's always been a tension in me how to resolve my sociable nature with my love of solitude. In a sense, this is the solution. It's a pretend farm on the edge of Delhi.
It's a lovely side of you to see as well. And I'm sure so many watching would love to see this side of yours. Yeah.
The Gilbert side.